Welcome to the X Podcast. We're excited to be back in person with the one and the only, the legend, Russ Moore.
I brought the luck of the Irish with me.
You did you?
I'm back.
You're back on your trip. We're going to talk about that one of these episodes too.
Let's do it.
We will. But you were gone for a little bit, so we had an episode without you. I felt like you were gone for about 4 weeks.
It felt like a few different lifetimes. I mean, 4 days in Vegas, a day and a half in Atlanta, and then week in Ireland.
My gosh.
It was crazy.
And so you were gone on a trip, but you're back, and it's almost Thanksgiving.
And I got sick.
Yeah, then you got sick. Well, we're glad to have you back. Table got smaller.
Good to be back.
The table got smaller. It's just the two of us back.
Y'all had some fun ones, though.
Yeah,
or
we
one
did.
fun one.
Yeah, we did.
A little revenge travel.
Yep, you did it.
I did it.
You were.
I don't know
if
I don't know if I've changed
Yeah.
really much of anything since COVID.
You always like to travel.
Yeah.
So nothing's happening.
No.
We didn't have a midterm election that we still don't have decided.
Yeah.
At least not in the. It looks like it's pretty much set that the Republicans are going to control the House,
but not the Senate.
But not the Senate.
How historic for a historically low approval rating for
president that
that
his party
have. On top of that, you usually have whoever's holding office just a complete counter.
Usually does have
seats in Senate and House, but we don't have that. The red wave
never came.
Splash.
The red wave never came.
Red wave never came.
Supposed to be heat.
And then there was an announcement by number 45.
Yeah, there was. But wait a minute, we didn't finish. I was going to say we don't even have the Senate locked up yet.
We don't.
It could. I mean, either way, the Democrats will control it or have a majority just because they already have 50. So last I saw, it's 50 and 49 with a single seat runoff in Georgia. I was going to say state of Herschel Walker somehow managed.
You told me you're kind of hoping he runs for president.
That is not what I said. Stop putting words in my mouth. I do not miss that.
Inspired by Herschel Walker.
No. I just gonna say no. It's not much inspiring about Herschel Walker to me.
Whoa.
In as president, but as
what?
As in representing the good old state of Georgia.
What about it
in the Senate? I think it'd be great if he was. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Either way, it's not going to matter because they have 50. Because the Democrats have 50 seats.
Yeah.
The Republicans have 49. They had 50, and it was 50-50 before. Yeah. And so the tiebreaker gets split anyways.
I told you it's really interesting. I don't know why sometimes these weird things happen to me, but I had a day and a half in Atlanta. I really thought that I was going to be flying straight from Vegas to meet my dad in Atlanta to fly to Ireland, but ended up having a day and a half.
Yeah.
Met up with some friends while I was in Atlanta, and it was midterm week. And because it was midterm week, don't write me letters, whether you hate him or love him. Trevor Noah, host of The Daily Show, really big figure in kind of the comedic hosting world, was in Atlanta all week to do The Daily Show instead of in New York. And really because the buzz of the midterm elections, such a huge week, was zeroing in on Georgia. So he's in Atlanta, and it was kind of fun each night hearing him talk about the different parts of Atlanta he was experiencing. And then I told you it was kind of weird. My friend went to the taping of a show. We go to dinner that night in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
I look beside me, and Trevor Noah is sitting right.
You texted
by me,
if I recall, at like 11 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, first of all, why are you at dinner at 11 o'clock at night? I couldn't figure that out. Well, and then you're like, Trevor Noah is sitting right next to me. I'm like, did you get a picture? Did you get a selfie? Wait, did you do something with him?
Wait, did I tell you about what happened?
No.
Okay, we're hosting this live, but I have to show you this. So my friend, she's very introverted. My friend, one of my best friends that lived in Lexington, she moved to Atlanta, and just a really cool story. But anyways, we're catching up that night, and she does what I would never think someone like her would do. She, I guess, just had a moment of starstruck and decides to try to sneak a picture
of Trevor Noah,
and it does not go well. He looks at her right as the picture is taken.
Yeah, he did not look happy in that
He
picture.
did
You guys
not
cannot
look-
see that picture, but Trevor Noah was not happy with your friend.
Was not
Oh.
happy.
So anyway,
But-
so we don't know what.
We don't know.
But the midterm elections did not turn out the way people thought. I mean,
But they were
Biden.
interesting.
I thought this was interesting. President Biden predicted that they were going to lose.
Oh,
I mean, he predicted. I was just surprised to even hear someone say that.
Fox predicted.
But I was surprised to hear someone who kind of, let's say, the face of the party, kind of, so to speak, and that actually say that before the election.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, that's defeating.
And he didn't do much. He really didn't.
He didn't campaign a ton.
He
for
didn't,
people.
but then you could tell that they felt very nervous at the end because then he did end up coming out, and then President Obama ended up coming out, and then, then all of these big names end up coming out. And yeah, it was a shocker, but there's a lot of historic firsts from this midterm.
Yeah.
So a lot of, however you feel about it, a lot of diverse firsts. Our first Gen Z, a 25-year-old.
I saw that.
And a lot
First
of
transgender, first House representative, maybe.
first female leaders of certain states.
There was a female governor.
Yep.
Who is openly gay. That I forget which state it was now. Michigan? No. I don't know.
I'm not sure. So there's a list of
a lot of
12 firsts.
Yeah, a lot of things.
And yeah.
And then in all of the chaos of that, former President Trump has his announcement, which you watched some of it. I didn't see any. I was watching Black Panther Wakanda.
What did you think of Wakanda?
It was excellent. It was
you went and saw it?
Yeah, it was so good. Saw it last night.
Who'd you see it with?
Our family. It was so good. What I'd say, I'm not a Marvel person. I don't love that last Thor movie was one of the worst. I wanted my time and my money back.
So
it was so bad. But I liked Black Panther.
Did you
Panther,
really?
the first one. I love, to me, it was so much richer in story acting than all the other ones are just fake and CGI effects, and I feel like that's the whole point of Marvel. That then it is the story.
Yeah.
And but I thought it was fantastic. It was excellent.
Really?
Excellent. I thought it was great. I loved the second one just as much.
saw it.
I loved it just as much.
Well, I was asking about the second one. So you like the second one?
Mm-hmm. I love both of them. I've seen both of them.
Okay, so hot take. I saw Wakanda Forever a few nights ago, and I was
stick around to the end.
No, I left. I know.
You left when the credits started?
I know.
There was almost no one in there, and the people left when the credits, and we were all just in there. And then there's an entire scene that I don't want to say because it'll ruin it.
Okay, I need to go back and see it.
They did not allude to it.
Because this is people, hot take. I felt a little underwhelmed when I saw Wakanda Forever. I think there's a few reasons, though, for it. I think, number one, I loved the first one so much.
You didn't like the Avatar men?
Well, yeah.
They remind you of Avatar.
I love the first one so much. I think, second of all, is probably a good, bad problem to have. The trailers were too good.
No,
I think the trailers were and because I see a lot of movies, I saw the trailer for Wakanda Forever about 10 times.
Yeah.
And every time I saw it, I had chills.
Yeah.
And
that was the best parts of the movie.
And I feel like the trailer ended up being a little bit better than the movie.
I think I only saw a trailer once or twice.
And because I was still slightly under the weather, and it was late at night, and so I was kind of dozing in and out. I need to see it again.
It's long, 2 hours and 40 minutes. But anyway, so I was watching that while you were watching former President Donald Trump give his I'm throwing my hat in the race, in the ring for 2024.
Which was interesting because before we move too quickly past the midterms, that was one of the big talking points was that a lot of people feel like there's a turning point for him in a negative sense because
people did not support his candidates.
Yep. All the people that he backed lost almost.
Yeah. I think there's a pulling away from him with the Republican Party. We'll just have to see. I think they are.
You mentioned that you really hope.
Okay, here you go. Now you're going to do this.
Herschel Walker president, Donald Trump as vice president. Is that still what you're hoping for?
Yes, that would be a fun show. Oh, my. But and then I heard that.
What's your prediction? 2024, who's it going to be? Republican and Democrat, who's it going to be?
I think one of two scenarios. I think there will be either.
You said you don't think Donald Trump will make it.
I don't. I think DeSantis will probably get the nod. The feeling I have is that the Republican Party is starting to get tired of Donald Trump, and not even that. I mean, do they want to win? I don't know, but I think that they look at midterm and go, oh, people are voting. They're showing that they don't really want to ride the Donald Trump train anymore. It's worthless. That's just my view and maybe what I think is happening. But I I could see him not getting the nod because of that. But who knows? I wouldn't write him out, that's for sure. And so I think if Donald Trump runs, I already heard that President Biden said he's going to run again. Which that's what we need is two guys now, pushing 80 something years old. So they said that if Donald Trump were to win, I think I was reading this right, he would become the oldest incumbent president. That he would beat Biden by like 6 months. Like President Biden was like 78 in 2 months when he took office. In 2025, Donald Trump would be like 78 in 7 months or something like that. But I'm like, is this what we have? I'm sorry. Is this all we have? You cannot tell me 350 million people and this is the best that we have. This is so bad if you ask me, but I think it could end up either that or I think it'll be two other completely different candidates. I don't think you'll have Ron DeSantis running against President Biden. I think he wants to. I feel really bad, but I just feel like mentally, I feel like his age. I just see. I mean, I think everybody does see signs of. I mean, it just happens when you get older, and I just wonder if he would be glad to be done after this.
I think it's going to be Ron DeSantis and Governor Newsom.
You think Newsom would get? See, I heard another name. Wait, unless it's, I could be showing my ignorance. Fetterman.
Really? You think John Fetterman? You know who Fetterman beat?
Who?
So that was another one of the big upsets. And that was at the heart of the controversy with some of the people that Trump backed. Fetterman beat Dr. Oz.
Oz, yes.
So Fetterman's the one that I think he had a stroke.
Yes, that's right.
And he beat Oz.
Yeah. So
I can't see him. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Anyway. I heard though some of those. Usually you see governors or you see certain people that are positioning themselves for that type of role. Yeah. I personally think it should be John Dutton.
You think it should be? Did you watch?
Yeah, I did. I watched the first 2 episodes of Yellowstone.
Should you admit that?
Why?
Live? I don't know.
Yeah, I did. Yellowstone. They're showing them on TV.
I watched it too.
They're on YouTube TV.
Oh, did they really?
They're on. Yeah, they're on the.
I got Paramount Network just to watch the.
They're on Paramount Network already on there, so I watched them. They were kind of underwhelming. I thought.
Yeah.
I thought they were kind of slow and a little underwhelming. I was like, same characters, whatever. But I don't know. But John Dutton now that's a character. So who knows? But anyways, and then at the same time that we have all of this going on, you've got accidental missile landing in Poland.
Did you
they
see
say came from Ukraine?
Yeah.
It looks like it was Ukraine trying to probably fight back against other.
But they're still
missiles.
Blaming. They're still saying this is.
I still think it's all in all, they still think they're not gonna blame. So, but it was just fascinating because I had someone texting me last night and go, Donald Trump's gonna run, and missiles are now landing in Poland. We could be going to. Is this the rapture coming? I said it was a joke, but it's like, is this a rapture? This is moving us up the index, and then I was like, this is funny, but it turns out that it's not Russia. It would seem odd for a single missile out of nowhere from Russia to Poland in a strike like that. That either I would say you missed, or something like that happened.
I don't blame President Zelensky, but he definitely jumped the gun. He made an official announcement right away. Russia did this, and Russia's attacking Poland because he probably wants NATO to jump in.
Oh, absolutely, he does. So, anyways, there's all kinds of stuff going on in the world, but we are also quickly approaching Thanksgiving.
We are.
Thanksgiving is coming up, and I was thinking about everything related to Thanksgiving, which is the food and the football, and
football.
Football and food, and I know you'll be excited to watch those games on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh yeah, it's the Green Packers,
the Green Bay Packers.
Oh
yeah. I don't know if they're playing, but they might be. But I was thinking about this whole idea behind, is that one season where we're kind of like encouraged that we should remember what we're thankful for and be grateful for. And I was thinking, I wonder why it is that we struggle. I was just kind of thinking through this a little bit, and I thought maybe we could talk about it because it kind of led me somewhere. Why is it that we struggle being grateful? And because I know I do. I just be honest. I struggle to. I tend to see what I don't have more than what I do have. I tend to focus on what I wish I could get that I, don't have. And so I find myself a lot of times just not being grateful. And that usually means I have a bad attitude about something, whatever. And I was trying to think of what is it in our culture, what is it in us that really tends to keep us from being grateful, or what is that thing? And the word that just kept coming to my mind, I think about our culture today, I think about even just all of us, okay, is the word entitled. And I know we've mentioned it before on here, but I wonder if entitlement doesn't keep us, maybe the most, keep us from having a grateful attitude, a grateful spirit. Because, the idea of entitlement is just the idea that I'm owed something, that you should give me. It comes from that word entitle, which is to give someone a title. It used to use it for it was like the same thing you would say a title of a book, a chapter, but usually more a position and a place. And so a lot of times that position or place in life. And I was just thinking about how maybe one of the things in me that might cause me to not be grateful is to fall into the trap of feeling entitled. What do you think about in our culture today? It just seems like, a funny comment. I think I said this to you before, that it feels like we always say that the next generation after us seems to be more and more entitled. I think every generation does this, but my generation looks at my kids' generation, go, they're a bunch of entitled brats.
Right.
The millennial or Gen Z when it comes to the workforce, and they want everything. They want all the benefits. They want to be able to work from home. They want to get paid this much. They want all this. They didn't work for it. So it's that old mindset. And then I thought, wait, I'm sure the generation before that all thought that about me.
Right. Yeah.
And the generation before them thought it about the one after that, And so what is it, do you think, that causes us to look at other people, other generations, and for whatever reason, either A, think they're entitled, but at the same time, not think that we're entitled?
Yeah. It's a big question. I think,
are you entitled?
I don't know that any human exists that is completely void of entitlement.
Yeah.
So as much as I like to say I don't have it, I'm sure it lurks in there. I know it is, because I think sometimes the things that you hate the most in others are the things that you see in yourself. And I think I think I told you, I won't go in detail, but I loathe entitlement when I see it. I loathe it in other people, and then when I see it in me, I loathe it in me.
Do we ever see entitlement in ourselves, though? See, I think it's really hard to see.
It's probably hard to see, and it definitely is hard to just see depending on your measure of self-awareness.
Okay, let's talk about entitlement in ourselves for a moment.
Well, first off, I think to kind of answer your question, I think one of the reasons that we see entitlement in others is because of comparison. Comparison is kind of a tired subject, but it's going to be an eternal subject as long as we're on the earth. But I think it can be really easy to feel insecure or entitled when you compare yourself to others.
Right.
But also, kind of thinking back to what you just said, I think we don't just compare other people, we compare other times. So when you look, when you have older generations looking back, even me, like at times I'm like, I hate it when I do this, but really just over the last 4 or 5 years is some of the first times I've noticed myself. But I'll be talking to somebody that I'm leading on the team, or somebody, that's younger at church, and I'll be talking like, honestly, I wish when I was your, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm using that phrase I always hated when somebody else would use.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to completely get rid of the context you have when you were in that time period.
Yeah.
So whether it's in a sport or in business, or a parent talking about handling of money, or when to buy a house, or how the work and reward scale should go.
Yeah.
Whatever context you're in, all you have is your context is your context.
Yeah.
And when you look back, one of the dangers of progress is that, there's a lot of books on this right now about what was it? Actually Malcolm Gladwell, part of the book.
Yeah.
You're not just David and Goliath. He talked about progress, whether it's in a home or whether it's economic, has like this bell curve of the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And part of when progress comes, part of the danger of progress is you lose some of the resilience attached to it.
Yeah.
And you lose some of the gratitude attached to it. And so it's easy to look back, me in ministry, I was so grateful. I'm so fortunate in some of the things I grew up in.
Right.
But then you have other people grow up and stuff, and you're like, man, if I only had at my age, what you have, if I only had the kind of environment, the kind of resources, the kind of teaching, the kind of tools, the kind of, and it's just really, really easy to look at that and say, oh, you're entitled. But I think part of it is we as human beings, I don't know, I was just thinking about this because I was even thinking a couple of years ago, we actually did a podcast on Thanksgiving and gratitude and all that. And
do you remember it? I don't remember it. I remember
maybe bits
nothing that we said 2 years ago. I don't remember what we said a year ago.
Yeah, that's true.
But 3 episodes ago.
But one of the things that I've never really heard discussed from this angle, I've never really thought about it until earlier when we were having a conversation, is we as human beings have this unusual ability to get used to almost anything really quickly. What I mean by that is, and it's a good and bad thing, I think innately we have this adaptive trait inside of us.
Yeah.
I mean, think about people in third world countries, or think about people that have been in the most horrendous situations. It's bad and good. They quickly get used to it.
They learn to survive.
Now, that doesn't mean they don't want out of it. And some people, depending on the severity of it, that they could in their life, but a lot of people, they get used to it.
Yeah.
So, on the other end, no matter what blessings come your way, the good and the bad thing is you get used to it.
Yeah.
And so you get used to it, and you take for granted what you have, no matter how good it is. I mean, how many times are you going through a tough season in life, and then someone tells you, well, at least, what? You're not starving in Africa.
Yeah.
At least you're not going through what this person is. It's helpful and not helpful, because when whatever situation you're at in life, no matter how good it is, it's just so easy to get used to it and then focus on what you don't have.
No, I totally.
I don't know why that is.
Register with it. I like what you said too, because I think if you peel back the layers of entitlement, I think you do find this spirit of comparison. It really comes down to, that's why we look at maybe younger generations and think, oh, they had it so easy. They're just spoiled. That's the term we use, right? They're spoiled. They're spoiled rotten brats, or they're spoiled because it's so easy for them. Yeah. And then we think that the way they view the world is like from an entitled perspective because of that. I had to work 10 years for this, and they come in day one and expect it. They're entitled, and yet what they've grown up in and their perspective is completely different. You think about the time they grow up in, and the way the world they grow up in, the culture, it might be normal. They see everybody else has it.
Right.
And so I get cynical. I'm jealous of the way it was.
Right.
They come in and are comparing their current situation with what their friends and other people, and go, I expect that. They got that benefit at work. I get this benefit at work, right?
Right.
And so we see, like, entitlement, I think, is a perspective thing. I think we tend to look down behind us, and when it comes to entitlement, I think it's easy to see in others.
Yeah.
But I would push back. Well, you said, we hate seeing others because, it's reflective of maybe what's in us or what we see in others. But I think entitlement is sometimes really hard to see in ourselves. I think other people, we can pick it out easily.
Yes.
They're being an entitled millennial. They're being entitled this. I think it's really hard to see it in ourselves. But I think I'm entitled.
Yeah. Well, and I think what we do is we just use different language. They're entitled,
of course,
but I deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah. They're entitled. I earned it.
Yeah.
They're entitled.
And then that's where I even pushed back on you earlier. I was like, I do agree that older generations tend to look back at younger generations and think they're entitled. But I told you, I said, maybe it's, I am 30 years younger than you. Like, I think, I do think at times.
That would be 30 months.
I do think at times, for me, I'm still in the place in life where I tend to look at older people and think they're entitled. And, maybe it's just because of the church context, but the whole idea of, well, I've come here this long. Don't tell me where to sit.
Yeah.
Or that's my seat.
Yeah.
Why are you going to change things up? We've done it this way for so long. Who are you to tell me that or even in company situations, I've been here this long.
Yeah.
So I deserve this.
Yeah.
I've been here this. Yeah. I even think,
there's definitely
not to take us all spiritual, but maybe entitlement takes two different forms.
Okay.
Think of the story of the prodigal son.
And
think about it. Like we tend to harp on the younger son. If you're familiar with the Bible stories, this analogy, this kind of parable Jesus gave of a father with two sons, a younger son and an older son, and the younger son pretty much in a really deep act of disrespect spit in his father's face, said, "Give me my inheritance now." Took it to Vegas and debauchery, spent it all until he was at rock bottom, comes crawling back to his father's house, is expected to meet a stern face. Instead, this father's filled with compassion, runs and says, "My son that was dead was now alive," puts a robe on him, a ring, kisses him, says, "Kill the big cow. We're going to have filet mignon." Mm-hmm. And then there's a party thrown in his honor. And what happens? The older brother hears this is when you know it's jealous. The party was so out of control, he could hear the dancing. You know something's big when you can hear the dance. Not just see the dancing, hear the dancing.
Probably clogging.
Yeah, probably clogging.
Irish dance.
And he says, and he's so indignant, so angry, so jealous, heart so hard, he refuses to even go in. And what does he say to his dad? He says,
"I did all this for you.
I did all this.
And you've never once never me a party like this."
So here's the question. Who's more entitled?
Yeah.
The younger son or the older brother?
They're both. Absolutely. It's a good point.
I mean, so I think depending on your place in life, if entitlement's a hard issue, then it affects everybody at different ages. The manifestation may just be different. Yeah. For the younger person, it's, "I deserve this. I don't have to work for this. Whatever."
Yeah.
For the older person, it's been like, "I've paid my dues.
Yeah.
I'm older. I've been here this long time." What that has not been.
It's a good point.
Here's what we know, though. In both situations, it looks ugly.
Yeah.
And the ironic thing, I never thought about this before until you were talking about the definition of entitlement.
Yeah.
But I think the irony of entitlement is it has to do with the title. But if you have a spirit of entitlement, eventually it's going to kick you out of the title, or it's going to keep you from getting the title.
Yeah.
And it just looks ugly. And like you said, it's easy to spot in others, hard to see in ourselves.
I think it's kind of hard to see in, I think the way it shows up in my own life, and maybe this is like, if we were all just be really honest and go, how does entitlement show up in my life? Because it doesn't show up like a big flashing light that goes, "Oh, you're entitled, right?" You don't know these things, but I think a lot of times, are we entitled when we get mad at God and we say that's not fair?
Yeah.
I mean, is that a form of entitlement?
Yeah.
Is there a form of entitlement when you're getting upset at God because something that you felt like you deserved in life and you didn't get?
Yeah.
Something that you prayed for and he didn't answer?
Yeah.
I mean, that could be a level of entitlement. I'm not saying you're desperate praying for somebody who's sick and, God, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just for yourself in life.
Yeah.
I think for me, those are two examples that you show in that one story. I think for me, the entitlement is probably more reflective and it's subtle, but it's how I see myself and how I see others, and it's the favor they got that I didn't get.
Yeah.
When you see, and so I think it shows up as jealousy.
Yeah.
But really, at the heart of it, it's a spirit of entitlement.
Yeah.
Like, how did they get that? Like, how did that door open up for them?
Yeah, because
how did that opportunity end up for them?
Entitlement is when you feel like something's owed to you.
Yeah,
and I've told you before. You pick on me for remembering this, but Andy Stanley talks about greed, jealousy, guilt, and anger. Anger says you owe me. Guilt says I owe me. Greed says I owe me. Jealousy, actually, ironically, and maybe I said those wrong. Anger is you owe me.
Right.
Guilt is I owe you.
Okay. I feel bad. Yeah.
Greed is I owe me.
Yeah.
But jealousy to me is the most fascinating. Jealousy, we don't think about it like this. Jealousy is God owes me. God, why did you give them that? Because if we really believe, from a faith perspective, that God's in control, then what you're saying is, God, you gave them that.
Yeah.
You should have given
and I didn't get it.
And I didn't get it.
So I think that's an ugly trait, but I think it's masked. I think it's hard to see, even
Right.
good things, because I like, no, I'm ambitious. But I think where it shows up the most, it comes in, like, if I'm honest, I think it shows up in disappointment.
Yeah, that's good.
Like it shows up where I get disappointed, and that somebody else, and I think, man, how different would it be if I were to take all my disappointments and then ask this question: am I being entitled? Do I feel like am I really being entitled here?
So when you feel sorry for yourself,
yeah,
what you're really feeling is the fruit of entitlement.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm processing this and just kind of thinking, because I guess what I was really challenged by even just talking about entitlement is I don't want to be that guy who's getting older and going, oh, those young whippersnappers are so freaking entitled these days.
Do that again?
Yeah. No.
Please.
No. I was trying to do my best old voice. Maybe this is an old voice. Maybe I don't need to. But, I don't want to be that person that, like, despises the younger generation because of what they have that I didn't have.
Yeah.
Especially at that point in life. Like I mean, there are times when, I'll be honest, even as a pastor, and I think this is like always something that pastors struggle with, and and the constant comparison of how are you doing in leading your church versus somebody else doing and leading their church. How are you doing? And I think sometimes, man, I'll look at stories like Craig Rochelle, who pastors the largest church in North America's history. I think they, 70, 80, 90, 100,000, who knows, 5 million. I don't even know how many people get, on a regular basis. And I can look at it and go,
we only have 40,000.
Yeah, 40,000. That'd be cute. And literally look at it and go, oh, he started his church like just 7 years before me. You know what I mean? Like, you can look at some of those, you go, man, I did not do that well, comparatively speaking. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a bad posture. It's a bad thing to take because you could have incredible things happening in your life and what you're doing, but you will always despise them when they never measure up to what you see somebody else do.
Yeah.
And then the disappointment, I just wonder if the spirit of entitlement, number one, I think it makes it really hard to celebrate other people.
Yeah.
That's where I don't want to do it. I feel like I've tried to get a lot better at that and going, man, even that thing opportunity they got that I wish I had, man, I'm really excited for them that they had that opportunity. I think even if you have to tell yourself, hey, I need to celebrate them because your first instinct is to be a little disappointed and kind of jealous.
Yeah.
But I think underneath all that stuff, is that a spirit of entitlement?
Yeah, I think here's this verse in 2 Corinthians where Paul says you compare yourselves by yourselves and it's not wise. And he has a lot of reasons it's not wise. But one of the reasons is because it's a lose-lose.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, there's so many other people that would look at you like Craig Rochelle.
Right.
And say, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, I've had this church for 30, 40 years, and you have all of this, and you have this building, and you have all this. And the truth is, whenever we compare ourselves with each other, we're either going to end up discouraged or haughty. Demoralized or arrogant. And neither one's a good place to be. And I do think the bottom line of it is it's entitlement, it's insecurity. I think it is a lack of, I don't know why, but for me, I go back to a lack of joy, a lack of fulfillment. And comparison can rob those things. But I also think for me, like, this may sound really weird, but I think one of the greatest antidotes to entitlement and even ingratitude is a really deep why. Because I think, like, me and you would both say, yeah, we have to struggle with comparison. We have to struggle with insecurity. We're human, so we're going to struggle with those things. I think me and you would both say, when we're in our deepest seasons of remembering why we do what we do, and we're feeling purpose in what God has called us to do, and we're seeing lives changed, that stuff loosens its grip. It doesn't ever fully go away because we're human, but it does begin to loosen its grip. But when I've lost, and I know it's cliche, but when I lose my why, I lose my way. And so when I lose that deeper motivation, and that's not there, and I'm kind of coasting on the surface of achievement and performance, then I really begin to compare myself, or I begin to draw my value. And so if I'm not as good as that person, then that affects my value as a human being. And then I'm going to try to do things for applause or approval or try to, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I do think entitlement's a trap. I think comparison's a trap.
The entitlement trap.
The entitlement trap.
Well, and I like even the perspective of it can go, because it's a trap, it can go both ways. It's not down. It's not younger. It can go both ways. Because I think and I think that's just the trap of comparison, like you said, is that you're constantly comparing, and you can look at somebody who is older than you, and you can say, why were they able to build their company to that,
right?
Or someone who makes more money than you, and you know what I mean? It's not, it's just It's a lose-lose.
So
like
let me
you
break
said.
it down on a really gritty level.
Yeah.
So this is just me being vulnerable, and
Okay.
I'm gonna
Let's talk
put
about your
myself.
entitlement.
I'm gonna put myself on the therapist's couch. Well, sort of with entitlement, but a little bit more with the whole like. I think one of the deepest things you lose if you don't have a grateful heart and if you have an entitled spirit is the ability to enjoy life, to celebrate others, enjoy life. And I love what you said about it. I think sometimes we don't realize, but it's an entitlement towards God.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even if you're not in a faith perspective, an entitlement towards life.
Yeah.
Whenever you're disappointed,
Life handed me lemons.
yes, or the unspoken thing is life is not being fair to me. Life is not this. And so for me, I don't know. Maybe it's an entitlement thing. Sometimes I've wondered if it's an Enneagram 3-4 thing. But like I really at times struggle no matter like how great my life is going.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle at times. Like I feel like most people would describe me for the most part as really, really happy, joyful, but sometimes I struggle to be in the moment. And I struggle to enjoy the moment sometimes. And I think it's either one of two things. I think it's either one, because I'm focused on tomorrow, I'm focused on the future,
Right.
and it's just hard to enjoy the moment. Or two, I'm focused on what I don't have in the present.
Yeah.
And so like there's times, I mean, look, I don't deserve the life I have.
No, I mean, you travel every other week.
I don't deserve
I mean,
to experience the world, my parents that are incredible, the job I have, the friendships I have, not to mention the basic necessities, the roof over my head,
Yeah.
and food and breath in my lungs. Like I do not deserve the life that I have
the coffee that you drink.
and the coffee that I drink. But I can be, I mean, people, like I do travel and I have nothing to complain about. But just because, as an old mentor would say, wherever you go, there you are. And it doesn't matter how beautiful a place you go, you don't escape your head. And you don't escape your emotions. And sometimes a change of place and change of perspective can be good, but
Yeah.
I won't lie. Sometimes when I travel is internally, sometimes when I actually struggle the most because I'm out of the day-to-day.
Yeah.
You have time to think. And at times, if I'm not careful, don't get me wrong, I have the most beautiful time in Ireland. I have the most beautiful time whenever I travel. But I always at least have 1 or 2 days where I have to be really intentional to steward my thoughts because I'll think of what I don't have.
Right.
Or the future, and I'm just being vulnerable for anybody that's listening in case you relate to this. And then I get really, really, the cycle for me emotionally is I get really mad at myself. Because then if I'm not enjoying the moment, I get mad, I get really angry at me because I'm like, number one, I'll never get this moment back.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to miss this moment, it's precious. Number two, I'll never get this time back with my dad. I'll never get this time back with this space that I'm enjoying. And then number two, I get mad at myself because I'm like, wait, who am I to complain? My life is so great. And like, there's so many people who would love to have my life. And so then it's like this cycle of not enjoying the moment, but then guilt and shame over feeling the way I feel. And so I'll try, there's tools I'll use,
Right.
the POS, like God, the piece of, pile of stones.
Follow stuff. Yeah, that one.
God,
That
thank
one.
you for
Okay.
all that I have. But
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Because as a fellow 3, I imagine at times, whether you're 4 or 3, I imagine at times you're so futuristic. I know you've shared vulnerably that you feel like you've gotten better at this.
A little bit.
But
A little bit.
what would you say to somebody that feels caught in that trap of not able to enjoy the moment?
Yeah.
And I don't want to get too vulnerable, but there's times that I'm like, man, like this is awesome, but this would be, I don't know. There's
Yeah, it's hard. I am definitely the type of person that is always in tomorrow and never in today. And I actually love what you just said, though. One of the phrases and the way you said it was great, and then you kept talking, and I forgot what the way you said it. But you said something just initially about the whole idea of being in the moment. Like you can be, thinking about tomorrow versus today. And I thought that might be one of the reasons why I think I might struggle to be grateful is because I'm always thinking about tomorrow. And I think ambition can really cloud your eyesight that you don't see what you have right now. You don't see what's in front of you and we applaud ambition in our country. It is the core value of an Enneagram 3. I think. I mean, I don't even know if that's true, but it seems to be that ambition is like We do. We applaud it like, okay, this person's got ambition. They got drive. They want to climb. They want to achieve. They want to build. They want to I want that person on my team. And we admire that. We applaud that. We reward that. But the trap of that is that always looking ahead and never looking right now in this moment can cause me to overlook moments, can cause me to overlook today, can cause me to overlook how I will stop trying to find joy in today because I'll keep chasing it, chasing joy rather than having it. And man, I tell you, one place that I tried this summer to do this a little bit better was, and I don't know, I feel like traveling sometimes enables me to do that for all its ills that you're saying that you feel emotionally with it. Even when we went to Utah and Colorado over the summer, trying to just capture the moment of those places where I was. But I feel like I've tried to do that more. But I'm admitting I am so destination oriented that the road trip is miserable.
Yeah.
Every road trip's a road trip from hell. And you can have your favorite people in the world sitting in the car with you, locked into a car, I'm talking about an actual road trip, for 10 hours, and it can either be your torture or you could look at it and go, I'm not going to get this back very much, And so they're getting older. That's like, the realization of having your last kid at the house who is going to be, graduating from high school, this coming year in 7 months, and realize, boy, they're going to move on real fast, and you never know what you have until it's gone. And so I'm trying to savor. I think I've been terrible at it.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the things I feel like is a regret of mine is thinking back to just even my whole season of raising kids and being so driven and focused on the future that it's hard for me to remember those moments, and and I'm terrible at remembering moments anyways. My wife's incredible at it, and she's like, you remember when they did that and said that and looked up there? I'm like, and nope, I trust you. And
I have a photographic memory with moments, so I remember every moment. But I'm with you. It's like how do you find the seemingly supernatural ability to marry a healthy drive with contentment?
Yeah.
And gratitude, and not because every time I'm about to go on one of these trips, I make internal commitments with myself. This is gonna be the trip where I have no regrets. This is gonna be the trip where I don't spend any time stuck in my head. This is gonna be the trip that I don't ever have a day where I look at my phone too much. This is gonna be the trip where I'm not stuck in tomorrow, and I'm not stuck in the things I'm worried about, but I'm soaking up this time with my dad.
Yeah.
And then my goal, and then I beat myself up because I fail those things. And the goal is to keep getting better and better and better. But it's, like you said, the road trip, what a tragic idea, because it sounds cliche, but life's not about a destination. It is about the journey.
Yeah.
And all you're going to remember is the moments along the way with the people that you love. And there is a mission in life, and you do want to be focused on that mission. But there's a balance and a grace and a rhythm that we've got to find with it. And gratitude really is the lubricant of joy. Without gratitude, there is no joy, and so I don't know the key to it. I know the cliche. G.K. Chesterton, what do you say? The way to truly love something is to realize it may be lost. The haunting words of Craig Rochelle: what you take for granted will eventually be taken away.
Yeah.
So I don't want to live that way. I want to live on mission with passion.
Yeah.
But I want to learn better and better and better, not to rush up the mountain and not be able to enjoy the view.
Absolutely.
And I
think one of the things I try to do, I don't do it consistently, so I'll say that. But, in the mornings when I'll try to have a devotional time, I'm reading the Bible, and I'll try to, some time to pray. I'll usually finish and sit there and kind of reflectively pray. What's going on in my life, who are the people I want to pray for, and the situations. But and when I journal, I always try to begin with saying what I'm thankful for. And enter his courts with thanksgiving, or as Eugene Peterson says, the password is thank you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's the message. Yep. Yeah. And so I really want to try to have that posture, because I think that's a way to be intentional and not taking for granted what you do have. And so maybe it's in the morning, and maybe it's just a quick, God, thank you for my health. Thank you that I get to get up today. Thank you that I get to go to work today. I mean, you can sit there and you could despise what I have to do, or you can say, God, thank you for the opportunity to do what I have to do.
Yeah.
Even really busy weeks. And I had a real busy week last week, and I had like 5 talks to prepare, and I had all this different stuff. And it's like, I could sit there and just be like, this is so awful. Why do I'm like so busy. I have it hanging over my mind. Or I could go, hey, these are all opportunities.
Right.
These are moments where I have an opportunity to connect and do something with people and make a difference in someone's life. And so it's like, it's about perspective. And I think even this week of Thanksgiving that we talk about, and we try to focus on, it's like, it's terrible that it's just 1 week or 1 day that we do, and it kind of gets overclouded by a turkey and maybe a little bit of football. And I'm not the type that wants to do the whole cliche, okay, let's all 1 day a week, let's just hold hands and go around. What are you thankful for? I don't think that is an antidote to entitlement, but I think trying to learn every day to find what you can be grateful for in that moment, find somebody, find something in your mission, your value, that you do, and just have a moment where you just thank God for it.
Yeah, I think, to put practical handles again. This obviously, I'm trying to be upfront that while I may know some of the answers, it's still a journey for me. And there's seasons where
you told me you were the most grateful person you've ever met.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's seasons where I'm doing well. I feel like
I'm not good at this.
No, there's seasons where I feel like I'm doing really well, and then this is just a season where I feel like, man, I've got to get back on the saddle. But I will say the other morning, because I think what you're saying is so important, and I think it's even more important to do when you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
It's easy to be grateful when you feel grateful. The other morning I woke up and I just was not in a great mood, and I felt the dark knock on the door of self-pity, and I was sitting at my kitchen table, and I will say I just said, God, I'm going to enter your courts of Thanksgiving. I spent about 5 minutes. God, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for every season I didn't think I'd get out of this. You brought me through. Thank you for every, if joy is a choice, then the choice is connected to the latch of generosity.
Yeah.
And you've got to choose generosity to choose joy. I think another thing that we don't see the parallel connection between is gratitude, or not generosity. Gratitude.
You were trying to,
But I was trying to get to my second point, which is the parallel between gratitude and generosity.
Yeah.
That ironically, when you least feel like it, but you choose to be generous.
Yeah.
Because what happens when you're not feeling gratitude? You self-restrict, you self-preserve, you draw in on yourself.
Yeah.
But ironically, what I need to do the most if I'm feeling least gracious is to be gracious, is to be generous. And not just generous financially, generous with my time.
Yep.
To walk into stores and bring my best self and bring a smile and bring an encouragement. To be gracious, to send somebody a text that will make their day.
Yeah.
When I can choose a generous spirit, that will actually in turn help me cultivate a grateful spirit, which will bring me joy. And like you said, it's all about perspective. One of the things I've been doing, I don't know why I've been doing this. I don't know if I've felt just more reflective than usual lately, but I've been reading for the last week and a half back through my 2019 journal.
Before COVID.
Yeah.
That's a pre-COVID journal.
It is very, and it's just fascinating. It's fascinating to see the perspective of just everything. Like, the things God did, the things, some things are really encouraging, and then other things are discouraging. Like, oh, I was still praying about that then, or I was still walking through this then, or I was still, but I think the more we can slow down, it's really hard to be grateful if you're in a hurry.
Yeah.
Like you said, if your eyes are on tomorrow, the more I can slow down, the more I can reflect, the more I can choose gratitude. I think the more I can kill entitlement. You mentioned it earlier, but one of my favorite parables in Scripture is Jesus talked about the vineyard. People walked into a vineyard to work. A landowner gave them, and there are people that came in later in the day.
Yeah. Showed up at 11 o'clock.
Showed up at 11 o'clock, and the landowner chose to pay them the same amount. And the people that have been there the longest, this goes back to my point about sometimes it's the older folks. The people that have been there the longest.
The old people are entitled too.
Yeah.
It's the old and the young.
It's the old and the young.
It's not me.
Right. It's the old and the young. And the older said, how's that fair?
Yeah.
And he says, and this is a great point back to, it's a powerful, sobering, encouraging thought that the God who is crazy in love with me and is committed to me also doesn't owe me anything.
Yeah.
And basically, Jesus said the landowner said, do whatever he wants to with his money.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. I think I've told you one of my former
It was
mentors.
a fair wage that he promised you.
Yeah, it was a fair wage he
agreed to
promised you when he didn't owe you anything.
1 denarii.
And one of my little mentors always just said, never, always be the person who just says, I can't believe I get to be in the vineyard.
Yeah.
Always be the person. He said, but when I was getting into full-time ministry, he said, no matter where God takes you in roles and positions and titles, never get away from the moment where you said, I just can't believe I get to hold a broom in God's house.
It's good.
And if I can stay there where, what was it? David said, God, who am I?
Yeah.
That you'd be mindful of me. Who am I? If I can stay in the position,
Yeah.
I love David was able to be entrusted with the title of king on the inside because he remained a kid on the inside. He walked like a king, but he also walked like a kid. He had that childlike, God, who am I that you would choose me? Who am I that you would? And I think that kept him in a place. He would say things like, I've not concerned myself with matters that are too weighty. I've weaned myself like a child with this. He cultivated this place of wonder and humility.
Yeah.
That I think no matter how much he messed up, kept entitlement away from him. And it kept this posture of, God, I can't believe
You want to talk about, David and entitlement. Here's a guy who was anointed to be king, and then it would be years later, and did not take what you could argue was supposed to be his.
Yeah.
When he had opportunities, did not take it.
Yeah.
So there's somebody that fought back against entitlement. So I think as we celebrate Thanksgiving this year, let's push back against entitlement. Not think everybody else is entitled. But let's look in the mirror.
Yeah.
And when you peel back some of the layers of entitlement, you find out what's really underneath it. It's an attitude of comparison. It's a sense of disappointment. It's, God, you didn't give me what you gave someone else, or God, you didn't give me what I expected you were going to give me, or this didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. And so I guess I admit, I think I'm entitled at times. And I think that the thing that will cause me to be least grateful is complaining about what I think I should have had and deserve. Rather than complaining, I should just be grateful. And I think it's important to figure out how to express your gratitude.
Yeah.
So express it. That can be you and God.
Yeah.
That can be you and somebody you're grateful for. That can be you and an opportunity that you've been given. Thank somebody for giving you that opportunity. You can just express your gratitude. Yeah. I think if there's anything we think about in Thanksgiving season, I think it's reminding ourselves to be grateful. So
it's good.
I'm grateful that we get to do this podcast.
I am grateful for
I have fun with these conversations. I'm grateful for you.
to help me. Grateful for you.
And that you came and joined the team. It's been an incredible ride so far. I love it. I love that we get to do this podcast.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's helpful for people.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.
So happy Thanksgiving whenever it's coming. And we hope that you have a great Thanksgiving. And thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
If you're watching this, if you're listening, wherever you are, whatever platform you're on, we are just grateful to have a community of people that engage with this and do this. And so you can always let us know. We always welcome comments. We welcome reviews if they're good. If they're not good, don't leave a review. We don't want to waste your time if you want to do that. And share it with somebody. Maybe this Thanksgiving season, this would be a great episode to share with somebody as a reminder that let's be grateful when we get together and celebrate. And so thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Until next time, we'll see you.